Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel was started 40 years ago by meteorologist John Coleman. John Coleman was an excellent meteorologist and a well-known climate skeptic. But the Weather Channel got bought out by climate alarmists and now publish lots of climate propaganda. This is the top story which they're featuring today. Climate change causing water levels to drop in Caspian Sea. Global warming is causing an increased evaporation on the Caspian Sea, and that's a problem. Here's why. They speak very authoritatively like they actually know what they're talking about. But the reality is that they don't. Here's an article from the Boston Globe from 1914. Caspian Sea shrinking. Water so low ships cannot reach wharves in many places. The scientific world in Russia has for some time been occupied with the sinking of the Caspian Sea. The surface of the Caspian, which lies 81 feet below sea level, has since June 1910 become continually lower. The difference between 1914 and now is that in 1914, scientists were honest enough to admit that they didn't understand what was going on. There's a scientific project called the Caspian Sea Level Project, which has been around for a long time. This is from their website. Caspian sea level oscillations may be 100 times as rapid as eustatic ones. Rapid sea level fluctuations have taken place in the Caspian Sea since it became a closed basin about 5.5 million years ago. The Caspian Sea, now at minus 27 meters below oceanic sea level, is known to have had high stands of plus 50 meters and low stands of minus 80 meters. This variation of 130 meters has occurred in the last 100,000 years. So the level of the lake has rapidly varied by more than 400 feet just during the last 100,000 years. Huge fluctuations in the level of the lake is its normal behavior, yet the Weather Channel is trying to attribute small recent changes to climate change. In 1882, the Chicago Tribune ran this article, "Climatic Changes, the drying up of water on the surface of the earth, what physical indications denote. Effects of desiccation seen in the decadence of nations beyond human intervention." Climate alarmists have believed that human decadence has been causing climate change and the drying up of water on the surface of the earth for almost 140 years. In 2001, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said that the Great Lakes were drying up due to global warming and that by 2050, Lake Michigan would drop another 2 feet. But if we look at the current National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Great Lakes dashboard, we can see that there's been no trend over the past century and lake levels are currently near or at record highs. There was a sharp short-term drop in lake levels from the mid-90s until the year 2001, and NOAA interpreted that short-term drop as being due to global warming. And now that the Great Lakes water levels are back up again, climate alarmists are quite predictably blaming the increase in level on climate change. So when lake levels go down, that's due to climate change, and when they go up, that's also due to climate change. But reality is that there is no long-term trend. Climate alarmists look at short-term weather cycles and blame them on climate change. But there's nothing new about the superstition, ignorance, and junk science of climate alarmists. 150 years ago this week, the Brisbane Courier published this article, "Imaginary Changes of Climate." 3 consecutive years of drought, while they have stimulated the inventive resources of practical agriculturists, have had the natural effect of calling forth a plentiful crop of speculation from weather prophets and projectors and half-instructed meteorologists, and all the philosophic tribe of Laputa in general, to whom the periodical press now affords such fatal facilities. Every season is sure to be extraordinary, almost every month one of the driest or wettest or windiest, coldest or hottest ever known. Much observation, which ought to correct a tendency to exaggerate, seems in some minds to have rather a tendency to increase it. The Weather Channel is making exactly the same mistake which climate alarmists have always done. They're misinterpreting short-term data and trying to apply a meaning which doesn't actually exist. The Weather Channel likes to pretend that there's some sort of authority on climate, but the reality is that they have no clue what they're talking about. John Coleman died a couple years ago, and he was the first and best meteorologist which the Weather Channel had. He said, "There's no significant man-made global warming occurring at this time, there's not been any in the past, and there's no reason to fear any in the future." Toto had the good fortune of getting to meet John Coleman. He was a very inspirational figure. You can visit Toto and Kyrie on the web at realclimatescience.com.